Yo, what is up? It has been a hot minute since I have gotten to time to get around to doing these Hey Subries. So I've seen all the questions coming in from the community. I see you guys in the comment section asking me questions. I have not ignored or forgotten about you. I just had a lot going on and I haven't had the chance to shoot them as consistently as I want to, and that I will be moving forward. So what I thought I would do is sit down and do a Hey Subry rapid fire session. I've gotten my team to put together a Google Doc with all of your questions, and I'm just gonna sit down, one take, rip through all of them and help you guys wherever I can. So I've seen the community growing, I've seen all the questions, I've seen all the subscribers coming in. We've got a lot in store for you guys this year in terms of new content that we're gonna be putting out and the cadence of the content that we're gonna be putting out. To all of my day one loyal subscribers, I see you, I appreciate you, and if you're new to the channel, have a look around. I'm gonna make it a more consistent effort to get into here and answer your questions off the back of any videos that you've got or just general questions about marketing and growing your business. So with all of those formalities covered, let me dive on in to today's questions. The first question comes in from Miles Marcus. What would you say is the average conversion rate for getting somebody's email providing something for free on a landing page using your techniques? Out of the people who give their email address, what percentage of these people actually convert from a follow-up email flows? I'm trying to figure out what the minimum price can be for my upsell offer to cover ad costs, landing page platform costs, email platform costs, and COGS. Well, basically what we're shooting for on a opt-in page first is between 20 and 40% conversion rate. Naturally, the reason why the variance is so large, like 20 to 40%, it's easy to get not easy, but it's possible to get opt-in rates of like 50%, 60% to smaller, more warmer traffic than if you're going to like gale force cold winds traffic, right? i.e. you're spending multiple thousands of dollars per month. The more that you spend, the colder that the audiences are. We're talking about something like Facebook or YouTube that you're reaching out to in order to get those people. So naturally you see those conversion rates dip. A lot of gurus online, they show you screenshots from stuff as like this tiny little chicken shit ad spend where they've spent like $800 in a month and they're like, I've got like a 15,000 ROAS and my opt-in pages are converting at 60%. And it's like, bro, anybody can do that at small scale. Like that's why there is that range. So then we're shooting from, 20 to 40% of the people to actually opt in on our opt-in page. And then off the back of that, again, depending on one, how defined your niche is and how much you're spending on traffic and how much traffic is arriving on those pages and coming into the funnel, is anywhere between about 5 to 15% conversion rate from opt-in to actual book calls, as a combination of the hyperactive buyers that are gonna just book immediately once they arrive on your offer page, and then you'll catch the rest over email flows. Then the longer that you extend that time horizon, depending on how many flows you have in that funnel, and then if you're emailing and doing a standalone broadcast to those people once a week, that is where you start to push things even higher and higher and higher. In terms of the costs and what do the unit economics need to be in order to get a funnel like this to stack up, I typically say that you want to be selling something that's $2,500 plus. If it's anything below that, the unit economics by, gating content through an opt-in, it starts to not make sense. And it starts to get to a place where the customer acquisition cost becomes too prohibitive, given all the little hurdles that you have to make people jump into for a low AOV or a low LTV, lifetime value of a customer, that it just doesn't make sense. So that's kind of like the unit economics that you're looking at in terms of covering your COGS and all of those kind of things. I don't know what they are for you in your business, but you want to solve, in general, as just a general rule, you want to solve a big problem that has a lot of value assigned to it, and you want to charge proportionately to the value that it is that you provide. And a good rule of thumb is, I like to say that you want to be charging 10% of what that value is actually worth to somebody. Because then they are, without a doubt, getting the best end of that bargain. They're getting a 10x on their investment. And as a result of that as well, you're also getting a good percentage of value, and you're not looking at like how many hours it's taking you to provide that, because that's not what people buy. They're not buying the hours, they're buying the value in which the hours that you provide are gonna unlock for them. I hope that gives you what it is you're looking for. Next question comes in from One Step Up. All right, I don't think that is your real name, but we will address you by that in any case. You've written, hey Sabri, how to introduce price in a convo in the DMs. Like I give them the offer and they are just like, I don't want to get with it. I thought it was free. How do you conquer that, my friend? First of all, we ain't talking about price in the DMs, right? So you need to think about like, it seems like you're talking about doing cold outbound and getting customers. So when it comes to cold outbound, this is a thing that I see so many people make the mistake with. They think that the DMs is for doing the deal. Typically, if you're gonna be offering a service and that service is gonna be high ticket, and if you're following my stuff, the chances are more often than not that is the case, then you're not going to be closing people in the DMs. That is going to involve you getting on the telephone with them because there's so much information that it is that they require in order for you to be able to command that high price and for them to feel confident to move forward with you. So of course, they are gonna wanna know the price before jumping on a call because that is the least threatening thing for them. The most threatening thing for people is to get on the phone with a salesperson, right? And so you just have to be aware of that. Like no one wants to do that. Like people are screening calls and messages from their friends and their family members, let alone complete strangers that are DMing them. Now I'm definitely not saying that's not possible. I think it is a great approach to go out there and get customers when you don't have money and when you have more time than you have money, specifically. However, in saying that, the thing that you want to do, you want to be aware of is that people do not want to get on the phone with you. So if they can ask you for price in the DMs, that is removing that thing of them getting on the phone to scratch that itch of the curiosity of like, I wonder how much this charges, how much they charge. And you know that if they're asking like price questions, that they are buying questions. You're only gonna respond and consider price and ask price if you are a buyer, right? If you are interested to know what the price is. So realistically, what you wanna be doing in the DMs is opening up a dialogue to then get them on the call, knowing that yes, they don't wanna get on the call. So therefore, the curiosity that you create in the DMs and the value that you promise need to be so high that they would be willing to, one, get on the call. And then what you need to do is you need to lower the resistance of them not wanting to get on the call. Why would they be resistant, right? Well, the reason they'd be resistant is because they think that you're just gonna try to get them on the call and high pressure close them into something they don't even want. And it's gonna be really awkward and they're gonna have to have this confronting conversation with you. And human beings optimize everything that they can to avoid confrontation. So the most easy way to avoid that is by not getting on the call with you. So instead, if we wanted them to get on the call with us, we need to try and remove that as much as we possibly can. And the way that we do that is by telling them that you are going to try and sell them or that you do have something to sell them. However, that's not what this call is for. This call is for you to provide so much value in this one call that all of the advice that you give them would be enough that when it's gonna move forward in something that's more mutually beneficial for you, for both parties, i.e. you're charging them and they're not just extracting free value out of them, that they are gonna pay you with the additional value that you have already created for them for free. However, if they don't wanna move forward, it is completely fine. There is no pressure to move forward in any case. Worst case scenario, they're gonna walk away from that call knowing these three critical things that you know that it is that they want to know. When it comes to advertising and funnels, we say that the ad's job is not to sell them. It is to sell the click. It's to get people to click the freaking damn ad, right? And the next part of the funnel is typically where you're gonna be getting them to opt in. And then the job of the opt-in page is to sell the opt-in. It's not to sell the service, right? And then the third step in that funnel is to sell the consultation and to sell the call. It's not to sell the services either. And then the job of the call, that is the job to sell the services. So just like you in the DMs, your job in the DMs is not to close a person. It's first, one, to get the whole message open, then it's to get them to click, and then it's to get them to book in a call. If you're asking that ask in the DMs specifically, and then you're basically just using the DMs as a job just to get them on the call. It's not to tell them all about the different prices and packages and all the ways that you can help them. That's not the job. The job is to first get them on the call. So that's a key shift that you need to make with your cold outbound funnel that will dramatically improve that. And you can just tell them, I'm more than happy to go over pricing on the call if we feel like it's a fit, but we're not even there yet. First, I want to show you these 3 things that I think are really going to interest you. I hope that helps. All right, next up is Manga27. Again, I don't think that is your real name, but it may be. And we are going to address you by that for now. You've written, "Hey Sabri, will your framework work for an industry like divorce lawyers?" 100%. We have divorce lawyer clients. It is amazingly fit for that. Is obviously a high ticket service. It is something that there is high information around. Anything that's got a high price, typically people do more research for, especially something like a divorce lawyer. And in that instance, the best thing that you can give those people is information and give them more certainty around the thing that it is that they want, and then make them a compelling offer as well. So yeah, 100%, it definitely works well in that industry, and I have a lot of experience in deploying it in that industry, and I am speaking from experience. Next question comes in from Carl Devich. Sounds like your real name. Hey Carl, thanks for being a part of the community. You have written, "Hey Sabri, how would you create a sales funnel for a service like photography that doesn't typically generate a direct return on investment other than having quality content?" So obviously photography is a huge niche. And if you guys can define your questions a little bit better, I can also give you more value in them, because I don't know what type of photography that it is that you do, right? So let's just have a look at a few different examples. You might be a portrait photographer. Yes, you're not selling ROI. You're selling something that is infinitely more important than even ROI. You're selling memory. You're selling life. You're selling legacy, right? And in terms of like looking at people's status and looking at like what is the things that motivates people. So, people get caught up with like justifying decisions based on ROI. Like that's not the only way to justify a decision. There are so many other ways to look at that, right? There's a breakdown on my channel where I talk about the most expensive bed in the world. And I take you through step by step on how they justify these ridiculously expensive prices. Like they sell beds for over $100,000 and how they justify those purchases and all the comparisons and contrasts that they use to really make that sale, a no-brainer for people that are in the position to spend that kind of money on a bed. And they attach status and all the stuff that goes into it. So that's the first thing, is just recognizing that no, you don't only need to look at ROI. That is just one of the metrics that you've got in your arsenal. But you want to think about like the memories that these people are going to have, the status of someone having these pictures displayed in their houses, and really understanding your market and what is important to these people. So when you do your research and you do your Halo strategy research and you look at your market, what are the things that are coming up? What are their fears, their pains and hopes, all the things that it is that they want in their life? It's just portrait photography, right? It might be something to show their kids, to show their grandkids, to create a legacy for themselves, to really capture these memories for all the hard work that they put into their life and in their business and everything. And what would that mean if they didn't even have a way to capture that and to document that and to show their story, right? These are very easy ways to justify those services. Then if you're talking about, maybe it's not portrait photography. Maybe it's, you're doing content creation for people, right? You can always justify like by looking at businesses being personal brands. And doesn't matter what the niche is that you're in, everyone is a personal brand, looking at the amount of content that is consumed, what form of that content is text versus video, all of those things you can also tap into. But realistically, that's about as good of an answer that I can go into without knowing the specifics of your market, because I can't justify something for every single photography client. I have to know what that niche is, but there is always an angle. That's all I can tell you, is that there, in any single market, there's always an avenue to go down. And the way that you find out that avenue is just by doing the research and actually reading on Reddit forums, going to Quora, looking at YouTube comments, TikTok, Instagram, looking at any forum online, right? And looking at what is my market really in need of? What is it they value? What are their questions? And then that in itself gives you the angles that it is that you need to define. That's the first way to do the research. And then obviously there's no better way than actually just interviewing your clients and finding out directly from the horse's mouth, what is it that's important to them? Why did they pull the trigger? Why did they buy it? What did they enjoy? What were their hesitations? What would they change if they were to buy it again? What would they tell a friend? Understanding all of those things. And that in itself is going to give you the angles that you need to go in order to justify the purchase and in order to make it a no-brainer purchase for your customers. I hope that helps you. Alrighty, next up comes in from Tool Wrangler. Again, not 100% convinced that is your name. We will take it. So your question is, hey Sabri, I get the order bump OTO1, OTO2, but are you saying to have all 6 steps? It sounds like upsell hell. The transaction that never ends. How many separate pages would you recommend beyond the initial? Look, I'm not saying that you need 6 steps. So for anyone that's watching this, you're wondering what the hell are these guys talking about, right? OTO1 and all these different acronyms, it's basically just a one-time offer, right? There's a few people around the internet that have proliferated certain acronyms to represent these, but it's just an upsell. And Tool Wrangler is asking, how many upsells do you want? Typically, I like to go with 2 exit paths. So I like to basically get to a place where someone has said no twice, and then I remove them from the funnel typically, right? So you have the initial purchase, they buy that. Then you have the first upsell, which is you offer them some other thing to buy. Then if they say no to that, you can have downsell number 1. And then if they say no to that, it's downsell number 2. And then you're out of there. You're not going to be setting them to a situation where they have 6 different no's that they're saying no to. So, however, a buyer in motion, that's the person that we're really going to be focusing on, is the people that buy upsell 1. The real question is, how many upsells do you offer those people, right? That are saying yes, 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 right? They want more help. They are not afraid to buy. They see the advantage of getting to the outcome quicker. Typically with these people, I would say I like to hover in between 3 and 4. 3 and 4 upsells. And the reason for that is that if someone wants to have more stuff to buy, you're doing them a disservice by not selling them more. And ultimately, you're giving them the opportunity to say no. You're not forcing anybody to buy anything, right? They're making the decision as they want. But if you don't have it, you can't sell what you don't have. I learned that very early on from one of my mentors, is that this you cannot sell what you do not have. And that sounds very, very simple, but it's pretty fundamental, right? And it's a pretty fundamental business philosophy. It's like, if you're kind of predicating your business growth based on 1, what you can spend to acquire a customer, and 2, how much those customers are worth to your business. If you have limited things to sell them, then they're going to be worth limited amount of money. And if they're worth a limited amount of money to you, that means that you can only spend a limited amount of money to acquire those people, and that your traffic channels are just going to cap out very, very quickly because you can only afford to spend so much to acquire a customer. And then as soon as the costs go above that, you have to turn the ads down. You have to turn it all down, turn the music down. It's a little bit loud. And then your business kind of plateaus. So you can't sell what it is that you don't have. And if you want to be able to afford to spend a lot of money to acquire customers, then you have to have lots of things to sell them, or very expensive things. I hope that helps you. Next question comes in from, I don't even know how to pronounce this one, but I'm gonna have a crack, going back to my old cold calling days where I would never not have an attempt. It's Vignan Modella, or something like that. Hey Sabri, the question summarizes all of the comments. I think, what is the roadmap for a student to learn copywriting, marketing, ads, who wants to start a marketing agency, and where we can find structured knowledge? Do any roadmaps exist? 2 exclamation marks. Or we just want to study perception, psychology, and storytelling in general and understand the current customer avatar. I don't think that there is a universal copywriting course. We just adapt the current changes in the industry and customer attention. Correct me if I am wrong. And the books that you recommend. All right, homie wants the whole thing. He wants the sauce. Let me get a drink of water before getting to this one. So, First of all, you've asked a lot about very ranging skill sets and skills, I should say, that all fall into the one core, right? Which is persuasion. Now, in terms of the best place to start, I think that let's start with the best places not to start, right? And we'll inverse the question. I think that what a lot of people do is when they start getting into copywriting and persuasion and funnels and all of those kind of things, is they'll read, their first copywriting book. It might be scientific advertising. It can be breakthrough advertising. I don't know where it is that you're going to start. And then they'll read one book and then they'll get a good foundation. And then they'll be like, this was interesting. I learned a lot of stuff. And then they just go on this tear and then they just start reading all these copywriting books. And they basically occupy themselves with just keep on learning about these concepts of writing copy and persuasion and copywriting. And they don't ever do it. And they think that there is like some missing piece of the copywriting formula that is going to unlock, and then the clouds are going to part, the angels are going to sing, and the money is going to magically fall from the sky. That's not what happens. What you really want to do is you want to get a base level understanding. For me personally, I believe that the best place to get that, and I'm biased because this is a road that I went through, is by getting as close to the heat of battle as you can possibly get. What is the tip of the spear, the absolute sharpest point of the spear in terms of customer acquisition? And that is getting as close to the battle scene, which is getting on the phone with customers. Nothing will teach you more about human psychology than making hundreds of calls per day. Because you can read about it in books. You can do research online. You can use all of these methods that even I prescribe. But nothing is gonna teach you more than being subjected and actually being in hand-to-hand combat with so many human beings, having so many conversations and asking so many people for money. You are gonna realize very quickly what makes somebody say yes, what makes somebody says no, right? If you're writing copy on a long form sales page or it's a video sales letter, that feedback loop is very far removed. Like you get the metrics, right? You get okay, we've got a 2% conversion rate, or we've got a 5% conversion rate, or a 10% conversion rate, or whatever it is that it might be. However, you don't know why those other people aren't buying. You just know that they're not buying. So when you're on the telephones and you're speaking with so many people all day long, you can be like, oh, okay, I just said this one thing and that really changed something. And then I said this, and then I got a little bit further in the call, but then this objection popped up, and then I didn't know how to handle that, and then the call kind of got derailed and I didn't close the deal, right? Or then I answered that really well on the next phone call. And then that got me into the end zone where I could start asking for the sale. And that high frequency, high volume, asking so many people for extended periods of time, you really learn a lot. And you learn a lot about people, not just in the instance of selling things, but everything is a sale. Right? If you're trying to get, a booking into a specific restaurant or a hotel, you're trying to get upgraded, or you're trying to get, the opposite sex to go out, or maybe not the opposite sex to go out on a date with you, or you're trying to get upgraded to a better table in a hotel, or whatever it might be, right? All of those things are sales. And looking at understanding, what it is that motivates people and how to move somebody to a decision, whether it's not just a sale, it doesn't have to just be a sale, right? That it is. It could be any of those things, any of the examples that I've given you, it can be. It all is around getting to an outcome. And nothing teaches you more than that as quickly as getting on the phone with hundreds of strangers every single day. So for me, before I'd ever read a sales book, before I even knew what copywriting or even marketing was to say that, is I had made hundreds of thousands of cold calls. And, whenever I talk about, hey, I've made over 1 million cold calls in my career, people kind of lose their shit and they're like, oh, how many cold calls is that an hour? And they try to full on reverse engineer it down. Well, guess what? I have done that. That's how I know the freaking mathematics, right? I have been in sales since I was 16 years old, and I have made when I was manually dialing, anywhere up to 350 to 450 cold calls per day. Does that mean that I speak to everybody? No. Does that mean that I ask everyone to buy? No, but that's how many cold calls I have made. And I have been on auto predictive dialers where I have spoken to 500 people a day. The majority of those people, they just tell you to get lost. They hang up on you. They tell you all of those things based on what it is that you say in that first line. So that's the way that I got started, and I had never read any books or anything like that. I didn't even know that this existed. And then I slowly started to read sales books and understand those psychological elements. Then I got into marketing, and then I started to read about copywriting much, much later on in my career. And the way that I found out about all this stuff is that I basically I bought some courses and I read some books about marketing, and I did what a lot of these gurus say to do, and I didn't get the results. And I had spent thousands of dollars on ads, which was an enormous amount of money for me at the time, and I didn't get the results. And I was like, forget all this crap. Just do what you do on the telephone and just put it into text. Just put it into video. Because you know that works one-to-one. So it's bound to work if you just amplify that out to more people. And it was only once I started doing that, did things take off for me? Did my funnel start converting? Did people start coming to me, asking for me to help them, right? Did billion-dollar companies and celebrities start to find my number and call me? And did I earn that reputation for myself once I put all of that stuff to bed? And only then, I was like, hang on. I'm not the smartest guy. I can't be the only person that's figured this shit out. And that was when I realized that a lot of the copywriting greats, like the Ogilvy and the Halberts and whatnot, these guys all started doing door-to-door sales and to selling one-to-one. And then they also transitioned into selling one-to-many. And that was when I started to learn about copywriting and whatnot. But still to this day, a lot of the stuff that it is that I do isn't stuff that I learned from books or it's a lot of the stuff that I learned in the trenches actually doing this stuff in all these different, in over 1,000 and whatnot different industries. So I think to come back to your question, the fundamental thing that you really need to understand is the ability to tell story. It's not the different close that you can close a sales letter in, or necessarily the biggest, the best way to, open a sales message, or all of the different steps frameworks that you need to have in place. It's more so just understanding incredible storytelling. And because that is what it all is fundamentally. You are always, whether it's a text-based sales letter, it's a webinar, ad, it's a script, it's organic content, it is all story, right? And it's the oldest form of communication. So you want to be a student of good stories. Look at pieces of information and stories that you have watched and consumed in the past, and then ask yourself how. How did they hook my attention? How did they retain my attention? How did they reward me, right? And how did they get me to actually close? And I think that is the base level that you want to understand, is you want to understand story. And then off the back of understanding story is then you're going to understand persuasion. And really when it comes to persuasion, I think the best place to start is on the telephones, and then backing it out, and then taking those fundamentals that you're going to learn about people on the telephone, and then learning how to communicate that in text and in video. But all of those things are story. When I was on the telephone, my very first sales job was selling the idea to people and the story to people that they should allow me to buy back their empty ink cartridges so that I could then refill them and go on and sell them back their ink cartridges. And fundamentally, the story was about saving the planet and them making money. It was when I really went from just completely focusing on saving the planet as the only story that was going on to them making money as well. Did things start to connect? Because I was the worst salesperson there, and then I became the best salesperson there. And all of those things, your first line when you're cold calling somebody, then how you slowly get them engrossed in what it is that you're saying, to the point where they don't want to hang up immediately, that's all little micro stories. So that is the absolute kingpin of all the skill sets. And then there's nuances to that. I do not recommend reading 17 copywriting books. I recommend reading 1 or 2. Just go to the bestsellers, go to the ones with, more than 500 reviews on Amazon, and buy 2 of them. And then from there, as quickly as you can, you want to move away from theory and you want to get to practicality. You want to take those philosophies immediately, find a friend's business, find somebody on the internet, and write them some piece of copy or some kind of sales pitch for free that takes what you've just learned and you apply it. And the more experience that you get in applying it, the better and quicker you're gonna get. So you're gonna get quicker a lot better by just doing, not reading about doing. And so many people online, all they do is just read about doing. And they think that there's some missing piece of information, and that's the thing that's holding them back. More often than not, it's just they're not doing enough. They're not getting enough reps in. And that's the reason why I love like cold calling and being on the telephone, is because all you're doing all day long is doing. And then you're also learning in between the doing of what to do. And that frequency is just, it is hard to beat. So I would recommend starting there, then moving to storytelling, and then looking at the elements of storytelling and persuasion. I hope that gives you what it is you need. Alrighty, next question comes in from Hamza Rufi, sorry. So you've asked, hey Sabri, have you ever marketed through Discord? How was your experience? If you haven't, will you? And why not? For me, focus is really about not what I say no to, but what I say yes to, and looking at all of the different options that I possibly have to go through. I like to think long and hard before going down one avenue, and then when I do, I go all in with it. Every other day, there's some new platform, there's some new SaaS software, there's some new little gadget and gizmo for me to like learn about and to apply myself to. So I try to think about what are the things that aren't gonna change. No, I haven't done Discord marketing. Why haven't I done it? Because I don't think it's the main thing, right? Like what is the constraint that I'm trying to solve by moving over to Discord that I'm not able to solve with my existing channel? Because everything that I say yes to detracts from the thing that I am doing right now. And people have been saying that email is dead for 5, 6, 7 years. It's not dead, right? It's still a workhorse in my business every single day. So I just like to focus on the main thing and keeping the main thing the main thing. Could Discord work? Probably, 100% it probably could, right? Will I be doing it anytime soon? Probably not, right? So I just look at what is the problem that I'm trying to solve. Either I believe Discord was the answer to the problem that I was trying to solve, I would jump in, but I don't think it is, so I can't really comment a lot on it right now, but I hope that gives you what it is you need. Alrighty, next question comes in from Savman9672. I also am a little bit suspicious whether or not that is your name. However, nonetheless, here we are, answering your comments in the DMs. So you've written, hey Sabri, how do I sell more in a small market? Interesting question. Again, I don't know what it is that you're selling. And I also don't know how small your market is, but the same philosophies apply. Whether it's small or whether it's large, ultimately you get compensated by solving problems in your market. If you're operating in like a small market, then typically you're not gonna have the issues of going out to like crazy cold traffic. And that has advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantage is largely this is not enough. There's not as much people to sell. However, when you go out to larger audiences, your message also has to get more diluted to be dumbed down to the common man because you're just going out to so many people. However, if you operate in a small market, typically the way that you penetrate that market is it's gonna be a smaller, more educated group of buyers. Not always, but a lot of the time. And that means that you just wanna have a lot of depth to what it is that you're doing in your marketing and answer a lot of really, really defined niche specific problems. And then you wanna look at all of the avenues that you can possibly reach these people. And if it's an incredibly small market, then there's not gonna be a huge amount of people that are gonna be searching for it on Google and that are gonna be problem aware. So you'll be limited. If Google is the only platform that you go to get customers, you're always gonna be at the mercy of the people that are problem aware on Google in research. They're the customers that I call have a bleeding neck. They've got a bleeding neck and they're looking for an immediate solution to solve that bleeding neck problem. And that's always gonna be a very small subset of the market because there's only such a small amount of people that are problem aware. So you're gonna be looking at a medium that is gonna be a push medium, with it's either going to be cold outbound or it's going to be Facebook and YouTube ads, where you can push a message in front of people, or you can call someone up and get in front of them, and then they might not know that they're problem aware, but they're a great candidate for what it is that you sell, and then you get the opportunity to go out there and sell those people. So they're the things that you're going to be able to master. You're going to have to master the ability to grab people's attention that aren't problem aware, arouse enough of the problem, and then get them to actually convert and buy. I hope that helps you. Alrighty, we have next up Biochronics. You've written, "Hey Sabri, I'm a 25-year-old with 6 years of experience in my industry in sales. Within that industry, I am faced with the opportunity to start my own company with a business partner. The question I am asking is, faced with my boss telling me not to leave and that I'll get 110 base salary plus comms and all the rest to stay here where I am versus the unknown of starting my own company within this industry, how do I get the balls to take the final leap, close the door on the potential equity in the future with the company that may or may not come, and jump into the world of my own business? Is there any advice that you have for someone looking to take the plunge? Is it a smart idea to take this plunge? To shorten the question, should somebody pick safely over their own business depending on the offer from a business, or use their own skills and drive to do the same thing for themselves and take the risk?" Yeah, it's a very good question. So ultimately it comes down to, what does the outcome look like that you're trying to get to? Now, we're living in a day and age where obviously being an entrepreneur and owning a business has never been more sexy and more desirable. If you look at YouTube, if you look at Instagram, you can't go anywhere without seeing this stuff. Realistically, like I've hired hundreds of people, over my career as an entrepreneur, and a lot of time people think it is the be all and end all to start their own business. And for me, it really, that couldn't be any worse advice to that, because not everybody is built to run a business. There is a lot of uncertainty, and it's constant uncertainty. There is a lot more additional stress typically than working within an organization. And there is long and sustained periods of zero balance. I don't mean low balance, I mean zero. Because the mortality rate for a business is very, very low. And I believe fundamentally the reason that is that people are not willing to do whatever it takes in order for their business to be successful. And while it might not be a popular opinion, whatever it takes requires zero balance. And I'm not saying that that is forever, but you need to live a few years of your life like others aren't willing to, so that you can live the rest of your life like others aren't able to. And it's because you're willing to pay that price, and it does come at a price. And that doesn't mean that the clear thing that you need to get sold on, and you really need to understand in the beginning, is what is it that you're trying to optimize for? Do you want to earn 150 grand a year? Do you want to earn multiple millions dollars a year? Because the work that's required to earn, 70, 80, $100,000 as it is to earn, $1 million or 2 million or more than that per year in personal income is substantially more. And unless that is the price that it is that you want, then, the price that you pay for anything is the amount of life that you need to give up in exchange to get it. And there is a large cost to get that. So fundamentally, the first place to start is, what does the dream life look like for you? It's a very simple exercise of boiling it down to, what is the ideal day look like to you? What time would you be waking up? What would you be working on? Who would you be working on it for? And then how much money do you need in order to sustain that lifestyle? And I would say that the thing that is very underrated is working within an organization and being attached to the revenue of that business, which it sounds like you are. And then you get a proportion of the upside that you then go produce for that company, and making sure that you are in a vehicle that has a lot of opportunity for you. And a lot of the time going down that road is more of a surefire way that you're going to be successful. And depending on what the outcome is that you're optimizing for as well, is a quicker, easier, and more balanced way to get there. So let's just say that you are clear that you definitely do want to start your business. And I'm definitely not here saying like owning a business isn't great. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't enjoy it. But I'm also very clear on like what my tolerance is to stress and what my tolerance is to risk and what it is that I want to accomplish in my lifetime and the game that I want to play to accomplish those things. And I know that for me, the only way that I am able to do that is by owning my own business. So the question that you initially asked is, when do you know that it is the right time? I think you want to get to yourself to the position where you do have a little bit of a nest egg and you do have a little bit of money saved up. So you're not just in absolute immediate crazy stress straight out of the gate and you have a little bit of buffer there. You have a couple of months worth of rent money and food money put away. But I can't answer when it's going to be a right time for you. All I can tell you is that it is always going to be scary to make the decision regardless. And the way that you wrap your arms around making this decision is you either get more discomfort and dissatisfaction from being where you are right now, and that dissatisfaction is greater than the uncertainty and the pain, or if you were going to go out and start this business and it was to fail. Because human beings are just wired to move towards pleasure and away from pain. And some people are more motivated by the pain component of it. Some people are more motivated by the pleasure side of it. I would argue that pain is a lot more of a powerful drive for a lot of people than the pleasure component of it. So you're either trying to move away from this pain that you've got right now of not being satisfied, or you wanting to go and start this business and all the reasons that you want to start that and getting very, very clear on that why. And that will get greater than the pain that you associate with starting this business and failing. And I don't know where you're at, where you are on that journey, but there will come a time where it is, you just can't stay in the position that you are any longer. And even if you were to start the business, either you were to lose all your money, if your savings was to go down to zero, you'd have to move back in with your parents, or you'd have to borrow money from somebody. Even the thought of doing that is less painful than staying where you are right now. That's the moment that you'll pull the trigger and you'll actually go out there and start this business. But before you do, my word of encouragement and the thing that I would go back and definitely tell myself is just to get clear on what it is that I want, and not so much like I was always really weighed down by this decision of like, what do you want to do with the rest of your life, Sabri? It's like, bro, like I'm 16. I don't know what the fuck I want to do. Like I'm just trying to figure out my shit, right? Or you're 17, you're 18, you're 20. Even like in like when I was 20, like the question that I wish somebody would ask me is like, what do you want to be doing every day, right? Or what do you want to be doing every day in 5 years' time? What does that look like? What are the things that interest you? And that is just a way more real way to work out the problem than figuring out what do you want to do for the rest of your life. So wherever you're watching this from, I hope this gives you the answer that you need. Let us know. Give us an update. Alrighty, next question is from Zubair91. Hey Sabri, you've learned a lot from cold calling. How would you rate cold emailing? People nowadays avoid talking on the phone. Cold email can bridge that gap. What are your tips on a successful cold email campaign? Yep, I definitely did get my start in cold calling, and I still do believe that it is incredibly powerful. And I do believe that is, even in this day and age, is an incredibly powerful way to go out there and get clients. And when it comes to cold emailing, yep, cold emailing has been called the cold calling 2.0. Definitely also, very powerful. I'm very, very familiar with it, and I'm a fan of it. Definitely with the latest advancements in cold emailing, it is clear. As more and more people move online, more and more people have email addresses, and more people are getting spammed than ever before. People know that it's a really good path to get customers, so they just add you on LinkedIn, they make a connection, they pull your email address, they